What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another day, another episode of the Daily Grind. I'm your host, 30NSG, and on today's show, we're gonna have a couple of videos we're gonna be watching. We're gonna be watching Bellular News talking about Hytale's creators are on a warpath, so we're gonna watch that. I'll give you my thoughts and comments on that. We're gonna watch Force Gaming's More Bad News for MMO Fans. So we're gonna give your thoughts and opinions on that as well. And then we're also gonna watch Laura Fryer's The Bubble Club versus Arc Raiders. Talking about Concord, basically, and Arc Raiders, and we'll talk about that. We're also going to talk about Arc Raiders a little bit because Summit had a video that he posted yesterday talking about how bad the game is right now with the spawn points and whatnot. And it was amazing watching his video because his video was talking about how the spawn points are so bad and when people like spawn in. So like he was using Stellus Montes as the catalyst, but he was talking about it like it happens everywhere. Like if you really wanted to farm people, we were having a conversation yesterday about making a PvE, making a PvP, and it's not fair if people go to PvE and then they come in. Like he was calling it sniffing a wall. Okay. Like he was just up against a wall, third person peeking, and knew when a person came into the game and then just ran out and killed them and then farmed them, right? He killed like 6-7 people. And then at the moment of 17 minutes left in the game, like the spawn points stop, right? And he just kept doing it over and over and over and over to show that this is a massive problem that's happening, not just in Stellus Montes. It's more in Stellus Montes because it's close quarters. But there's less spawn points in Arc Raiders than there is, he said, in Call of Duty. Okay, like spawn camping is spawn camping, and he's saying he's doing it to show you that it's bad and they need to fix it. And people are like, "Well, don't you want a PvP?" He's like, "Dude," he's like, "You guys are coping." He's like, "You see what's happening here, right?" He's like, "People can just farm people that are coming into the game, so you don't know if they're bringing a free loadout or if they're bringing in something else." And they walk out the door, and all of a sudden they just get murdered. You could literally just put grenades or mines inside the room where they are, and as soon as they pop in, they get killed as well. So it's a massive problem. So I don't know, but I feel, how I always tell you, like, give it the smell test or whatever, right? There's that moment when you can tell a game is like losing momentum. Even though you go look at the Steam charts right now, it's still 400,000 people playing. But I feel like this is the moment. I even asked Mr. Luke yesterday, I said, when do you feel that the game is going to start losing momentum, right? I think people are waiting right now for the winter update for the snow biomes to come in when they, rotate. But I think a lot of people are kind of getting tired of what's happening right now. I think it started with this streamer wars, right? And again, this is me not bitching about should there be PvP or PvE. I'm just saying in general, the consensus you can tell is that people are starting to get a little bit tired of going in, getting murdered 2 seconds, and like losing their stuff when they can't even get out, right? The spawn points are bad. They were bad from the very beginning because sometimes you had 2 people. There was videos out there of people spawning in the same location at the exact same time, and yet they're not on the same team. But Summit making the video is going to amplify this big time, right? But the reason he did it was to show people that the spawn points are bad. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens with Arc Raiders in the next couple weeks, and they have to fix this. They have to fix this. Okay? If they don't fix the spawn point situation, a lot of people don't like that you're coming in mid-game with halfway. They say if you do free loadout, you should be able to put in the 17 minutes, but if you come in with a full loadout, then you should put in the beginning of the game. But people already don't like that. And now it's being shown even more that this is a massive problem. So hopefully Embark fixes the spawn point locations or puts more spawn locations inside the game. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with that. What's going on, chat? Let me see who's all here. Aku, Eclipse, Altern. Good morning. Krabby, what's going on? Krabby, it's crowded, right? You're crowded. Kylo, what's going on? Sarge, good morning. Let's see here. Who else is here? Drummond, what's going on? Good morning. Just enough. Robert Jones, what's going on? Argus, good morning. How's everyone doing? And everybody else that's lurking in the background, I appreciate you very much over on Twitch. Good morning over there as well. Here's a little story for you this morning, right? So yesterday, every year we go see the Santa Claus inside the mall or whatever, and go take a family photo or whatever. We bring the dogs, they allow dogs. We bring our dog to the actual thing. On the way back, right? On the way back from seeing Santa Claus. Now my son knows that the Santa Claus inside the mall is not the real Santa Claus, right? We told him when he was younger, like these are Santa's helpers, so to get what people, what they want for Christmas, and they go back and tell them whatever, right? But remember, was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. I said, I don't know how much longer this is going to go on before my son, or your children figure stuff out or whatever, right? So all the way back, he starts asking questions, right? But he starts asking questions. My son is very, very smart when it comes to, he's like a 60-year-old man trapped in an 11-year-old body. Okay. He starts to ask questions about, he starts off by saying, I believe in Santa Claus. He goes, but how does he do this? How does he do that? How does he do this? Whatever, blah, blah, blah. So we have this like conversation, right? And we asked him, what did you ask Santa for Christmas? And he said that he asked him for a Nintendo Switch 2. And both me and my wife were like, huh. Now, when we were there, Santa said that it might be hard because, lots of kids want that this year, blah, blah, blah. He's like, this is a good Santa, by the way. He's like, what is your second thing that you want? And my son goes, surprise me. Right? That's all he said. Surprise me. So now we're in the car. He's asking questions, right? So we know that he wants a Switch or surprise him. Now, obviously, I don't want to buy a Nintendo Switch, right? I don't want to buy a Nintendo Switch 2. At least not yet. I said, even when it first came out, I said probably year 2 or something, I'll pick it up. But my son's had a really rough year, where he got injured really bad earlier this year. He's had a really, really rough year. So me and my wife are figuring out if we should get this or not, right? So as we're talking, he's in his room. All of a sudden I go, wait a minute. Did you hear him ask Santa for a Switch 2? And my wife goes, well, no, I didn't hear the first part, but I did hear Santa say that he said surprise him. Okay. And Santa didn't say the first part of a Nintendo Switch 2. He said surprise him. Okay. But our son said that he asked for a Nintendo Switch 2, and then he said to surprise him. Okay. So I was like, what if? Because after that, he started asking questions, right? So I was like, my son might be playing us right now, because he might be at the age where he knows that he doesn't exist, right? But he told us that he believes in it, right? But then starts making comparisons on the way home, right? He goes, isn't it weird? He goes, isn't it weird that Santa likes cookies and milk? He's like, Dad likes cookies and milk. And I was like, who doesn't like cookies and milk? I was like, right? So we start going down this like rabbit hole. So we get home, right? Sounds so suspicious. Wait, right? So as I'm doing dishes last night before I start stream, I'm sitting there and I'm washing dishes and I go, wait a minute. What if my son has figured it out and he knows that we are getting him the stuff, not from Santa, right? Because we give gifts and then we give Santa gifts, right? And I was like, what if he's playing us? What if he didn't ask Santa for a Switch 2 and just asked him to surprise him, but then told us that he wanted a Switch 2? So then if we get the Switch 2, then we make ourselves known that there is no Santa. Right? The jig is up. The jig is up. My son is playing 4D chess right now. Right? You see what I'm saying, guys? I think he didn't say it to Santa. I think he just said, surprise me, right? And then told us that he told him that he wanted a Nintendo Switch 2. So that way, if he gets a Nintendo Switch 2, he knows he didn't ask Santa. He only told us. You know what I mean? Right, Altern? I think he is. I think my 11-year-old has outsmarted us. He doesn't have the attention span of 4D chess. Oh, how little faith you have in your nephew. Right, Kylo? Because why would Santa say, he said, surprise me? He didn't say he wanted a Nintendo Switch 2 and then surprise me. He said he asked to surprise him. But my son said he asked him for a Nintendo Switch 2, and then he said that a lot of kids want them. What else do you want? You better go back and talk to Santa. You really think that Santa's going to be like, oh yeah, I remember your kid. So it's going to be very interesting. So now we are like, do we buy it? Or do we not buy it? Do we not buy it? And then if it doesn't happen, if he still believes, then he doesn't believe anymore because Santa didn't give him what he asked for. See what I'm saying? Oh, how what we weave comes back in us, right? He knows. Bring a photo of him. Yeah, so it'd be interesting. It'd be very interesting. Yeah, I just thought it was funny. I was like, because it dawned on me as I was doing dishes. I was like, wait, he was saying stuff in the car, right? He was saying stuff in the car. And then I was like, what if he didn't ask Santa? And I was like, Santa didn't tell me he's asked for a Nintendo Switch 2. He just said, surprise me. He himself said he asked for a Nintendo Switch 2. Kylo says, thank you for Switch 2, but you ruined Christmas for me eternally forever. Right. You gave me the Switch 2. I know you guys gave me the Switch 2 because I didn't ask Santa for Switch 2. I know Santa doesn't exist, but thanks for the Switch 2. Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. Oh, I can't bring up your guys' things today. I don't know why that's happening. Oh, I know why. I don't have. Hold on. Oh, Chat Ninja is here. Why isn't it working? I don't know why it's not working. Gonna have to figure that out. I'm using OBS today instead of Streamlabs OBS. It looks like it's more stable, and I can disconnect one or the other and change stuff within OBS, which I can't do in Streamlabs. So we'll see what happens. Robert Jones says, I remember at 12, I scientifically proved that Santa was BS. I mean, that's what he's doing right now. That's what he was doing in the car, on the car ride home. Roic says, you give him everything else, but that, and when he opens everything else, you say you have one more from Santa. Yeah, that's not the problem, Roic. We do that right now anyway, right? We have gifts that we have from like grandma, grandpa, and all the other stuff, and from us. And then we have different wrapping paper that we put from Santa. Like Santa doesn't give all us the gifts, right? We buy gifts for people. He knows that. Those are underneath the tree. But then there's the gift from Santa that he only sees on Christmas Day. Krabby says, Mike, just leave footprints on the carpet leading towards the fireplace. He'll be good for a few more years. I don't think so. I don't think. I think it's every morning the same time. I think it's the same time every day. I think it's at 10:15, right? 10:15, 10:20 every day that we have a little hiccup there. Interesting. Travis says, I can't remember how I found out about Santa it wasn't real, but I do remember exactly how I got my first Gallahorn. That is such a Destiny thing. I remember how I got my Gallahorn. I remember how I got my Icebreaker. I remember how I got my Fatebringer. I remember all those things. Well, I think that's what really happened, Kylo. I think someone in school said something, and now he's asking questions. You know, it is what it is. It is what it is. We'll figure it out. I just thought it was a funny story. I was like, this kid's playing us. He's playing us. All right, let's start off with the first video. It's a short video. It's 9 minutes and 21 seconds long. Laura Fryer's got the Bubble Club versus Arc Raiders. If you guys like what we do this Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning till noon Eastern. If you like it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. We do appreciate you very much for coming out and hanging out with us each and every single morning. Just getting you through a couple of hours of your day. All right, let me get this. There we go. All right, let's start off with Laura Fryer's video here. Oh, that's going to hit us. That's going to hit us, Laura.
Eurogamer just tried to tank Arc Raiders' review score by giving them a 40% rating on Metacritic, dragging the aggregate from 94 to 84.
Mo says, you said he's 11? That's a hell of a run. It is a hell of a run. He's probably known for years. He's just letting us know that he knows now.
Why? Because the game wasn't good? No, because the writer didn't like how Embark Studios built their game. They didn't like that Embark used actor data and a text-to-speech system to generate new lines, saving weeks' worth of work. And everyone got paid. No stolen voices. They did it right. Eurogamer gave Concord a 60%.
60%. And gave 40%.
They felt the $400 million flop that shut down in 11 days was better than Arc Raiders. And to top it off...
Like, how does that even happen? You gave a game that lasted 12 days, a higher score than one of the most popular games of all time on Steam alone.
They gave Call of Duty Black Ops 7 a 3 out of 5, and zero mention of its generative AI for calling cards and banners. It's a travesty. But Embark? Radio silence. No temper tantrums, no slap fights on social media, and that's not arrogance, okay? That's a masterclass in PR and production priorities. They're letting their game speak for them.
Which we always talk about, right? We always talk about make a game, sell a game, right? Make a game, sell a game, right? Don't do what Ubisoft did. Ubisoft tried to basically wave their hand in front of you like a Jedi mind trick. Like, these are not the robots you're looking for. Like, our game's not sucking because of this. EA did this with Dragon Age, right? They're like, this is not the game that you thought it was, right? They all did PR nightmare stuff. They all delayed the game or said certain things. These guys are just letting it happen.
Today, as an ex-producer and studio manager, I'll autopsy why Embark gets it right. Customers over critics, brutal honesty with players and themselves, a CEO who leads without commanding, a smart publisher that's backing their visionaries, and a lean machine pumping out hits with shocking efficiency. First, Embark knows that Metacritic doesn't pay the bills, players do.
Yes. And the little conversation we had yesterday talking about PvE, PvP, okay, they want this game to last a long time. They've even said, again, 10 years. Okay. Well, over 10 years, it's going to change. And yesterday, I know some of you said that basically they're not going to make a PvE. It's going to happen because they don't care about Metacritic. They don't care about all these other things. They care about what the customers want. And the customers want a PvE section in the game. So Embark will do that for the customers because they want to keep their game relevant and keep it going with microtransactions and whatnot inside the game.
Players love the game. Even Eurogamer praises the rich PvE, the friendly community, the tense raids. The writer seems to love the game and then docks it for using AI on things like emotes, a decision that saves time for the actors and the team. They call it abhorrent ethically. It's ridiculous. And then you had Concord, which was dead on arrival, and it got a pass. So reviewers are now going to start policing game production practices? Ooh, we don't like your engine. Is that what's next? Or maybe if a studio has too much remote work, we're going to give you a 2 out of 5? It's crazy to think that a journalist has any business telling the games industry how to make their game.
Exactly right. Make a game, sell a game. Make a game, sell a game. You have a vision, put the game out there, drop it how you want. But then if you want the game to keep continue going and people change the way, again, Fallout 76 was supposed to be a PvP game. It turned into a huge community. Excuse me. Huge community of people not fighting each other. And it's a completely different game now where it's just about events and story missions.
Games. This is the games industry bubble I broke down last year, where journalists can end up building a bubble, a clique where they're deciding who's in and out. And
here's another thing I just thought of. I find it funny that journalists make articles about streamers and say that streamers are trying to ruin video games. But yet the journalists are doing the exact same thing. The journalists think that their word is bigger than someone else's word because they have this. The only reason is because they're working for a publication, and that publication's supposed to be some sort of honor symbol of, honesty, and it's this established, established business where it gives them the credibility of what it is. Those are long gone. Journalists are just like streamers. Just like me, just giving their opinion, and if they like it or not. The difference between the journalists is they were supposed to talk to the actual people, get actual facts, get actual things that give them the credibility of what they're talking about. But now it's none of that. Now it's just opinion pieces just like us.
It can feel like only the popular developers get a good review, regardless of what they produce. The critics prop up $400 million disasters while punishing others. Luckily, Embark already explained to players that no jobs were lost.
And this is another thing I just thought of. Right? I didn't just think of it, but this is why certain outlets talk nice about one game and they don't talk nice about the other, right? Because if you go look at that outlet, if you go look on their website, not saying all games do this, but a big game comes out and all of a sudden you see ads on their website, sponsorships, right? And yet, when you see things being knocked down, Arc Raiders, was it 6 to 8 points? Because Eurogamer gave it a 2 out of 5, okay, a 4 out of 10, that it destroyed basically their score because of it. What do you think's going to happen? Again, streamers get paid as well, and that's why they have to disclose being sponsored.
That it was a choice to speed iteration for everyone involved. They don't need to respond to the journalists. And that's because things have changed in the industry. Journalists are largely irrelevant.
That's right. Journalists are irrelevant, right? But that's to also say that streamers are also irrelevant, right? If you're a person that likes a game and you think a game is good, you're going to buy that game. You're going to play that game. You're going to enjoy that game. Regardless if people say it's shitty or not, Back in the day, you used to pick up the back of the box, turn it around, look at it, and go, is this something that I want to play? There was no reviews in the back of the box. You saw the box cover art and thought, that's cool looking. You pick it up, you turn it around, you start looking at the actual stuff on the back. You see the 3 screenshots. You're like, single player, co-op, multiplayer game. This seems interesting. Set in a sci-fi esque type of game. And you're like, you know what? I'm going to buy it. You walk up to the GameStop employee or the electronic boutique guy or somebody that you're buying the game for, the physical copy, and ask, hey, have you played this before? And they're like, nah, it just came out, but it's selling a lot. Okay. Well, what have you heard? I heard it's really good. Blah, 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 blah. Right? This is what happened in the old days. Right? You didn't run to your local newsstand, pick up an article and look for it. Right? You didn't wait. Like, articles were written a month afterwards in Nintendo Power. Game came out in June. You got the August edition. They're talking about the game that you bought. Oh, man. Oh, cool. Right? Like, that's the way it was. Not the way it is now.
The bubble is just that, a bubble. Only the click cares. The rest of the games industry has moved on. Not only that, Arc Raiders is a live service game. The reviews of today are going to go out of date. And all of those updates that they'll be doing on a regular basis.
That's another thing that she just said. All the reviews are going to go out of date. Right? A reviewed game of Battlefield 6 today is a completely different review than Battlefield 6 18 months from now when they have a whole bunch of more content in there. A review today of Star Wars Outlaws is going to be completely different 18 months later when the game's actually finished, right? All of these reviews are giving you reviews about a game that's not complete. A broke, buggy, unfinished game is what they're reviewing on, and they give it 9s and 10s today. When a game then is broke, buggy, and unfinished, and then 18 months from now, it's actually a better game.
That's where I think Embark is going to continue to shine. Here's the deal. Embark.
Let me rewind here for a second.
Arc Raiders is a live service game. The reviews of today are going to go out of date. And all of those updates that they'll be doing on a regular basis, that's where I think Embark is going to continue to shine. Here's the deal. Embark serves players, not egos or the press club. In 2021, their plan was to make a PvE-only game. They ran the tests, and minute to minute was good. It was solid. They had solid gunplay, robot slaying fun. That's not where the problem was.
Then you go into hour by hour.
Here's the I watched this interview. Now, when I say make a game, sell a game, the game that they wanted to make, which is a PvE game, they said, well, it's not going to work. So they changed it to the PvP VE game. Okay. Now, what you launch it at. Now, if it was just a single player game, it was not a live, I should not say a single player game. It was just not a live service game. It just came out. It is what it is. And that was it. They were never going to update it again. Then it is what it is. They made the choice of, we were going to do PvE, but instead we did PvP VE. Okay. And that would be it. But because it's a live service game, because the rampantness of people liking the game for what it is, they have to change it now based on what the metrics say. And if the metrics say inside the game that a large portion of people are asking for this, and it's a live service game, they will change it over time.
And then, day by day, and then maybe week by week, month by month. That's where the problem starts. And you need to really make sure that you have things for players to do.
So they had to pivot. They kept what worked, scrapped the rest, and decided to make a piece.
When they first showed this, people were interested in this. People were interested in large fights with a group of people. This is what they sold 4 years ago. Right?
PvP VE extraction. For non-gamers, PvP VE
6 years ago? 4 years ago.
Extraction is simple.
4 years ago.
Team up or backstab with strangers to loot a robot-infested wasteland, then extract alive. It's like Ocean's 11 in Mad Max. You have high risk, huge reward, and endless what-if tension. But here's the amazing part. Many of the devs worked on Battlefield. They were tired of PvP after years at DICE and EA. They didn't want to add it.
Should we consider adding the PvP components? a lot of people, and frankly me included, wanted this to be a PvE game, and I wanted for our vision to work.
Now, this is interesting. They didn't want to play at PvE. They didn't want to make a PvP game. They have the finals. They didn't want to. They wanted to make this a PvE. Their vision originally was a PvE game, and I've talked about this 2 weeks ago. I said the bones of this game is still a PvE by heart. The ground level, the foundation of this game is a PvE game. Okay, hence why it's showing right now why the PvP is being pushed back by the people. They thought, now again, respect to them, they made a game, sold a game. They're like, we want to make a PvE game. Their original vision was PvE, but then they're like, it's kind of boring. So they put PvP into it because that's what they think they needed. And so far, that's what it looks like it's going to work. But is that a short-term fix? Or is that a long-term fix? I think their original vision of PvE will shine through, and the people that want PvE will make this game last longer than the PvP.
This problem isn't discussed enough in the industry, and it trips up so many experienced developers. When you start, you are the market, but tastes shift. I learned this young when I was gushing to the Age of Empires CEO about features I'd love, new units, strategies. He thanked me, and then he gently pointed out that a young woman obsessed with an RTS at that time was a complete anomaly. I was not his core market. And that humility is what saves games, and it saved Embark. Brutal playtests over personal preferences. They run the test, set their egos aside, and listen to their players. They are
running the test, though, for a game that is made and sold and not changed is different than make a game, sell that game, and then change that game over time because it's a live service game.
Delivering what players want.
Someone needs to dare to say what I think is uncomfortable. That's my job. That's how I look at myself. I'm the guy that needs to point.
Jason says the PvP is cool. It makes every session unpredictable. I agree with that. But at the same time, we also, back in the day, when PvP games were made, the AI was the AI. The AI didn't change. I don't know if you've noticed this, if you're playing, Jason, but the Ark itself, because it's AI not generated, but it's learning, right? Now, I don't know if this is coded this way, or I watched the video where they say they literally did 65 million tests or 65,000 tests, and it adapted over time. So it learned over time, so it wouldn't make the same mistake. Now, I've noticed playing the actual game that the Ark itself, like the Wasps or the Hornets, when you first started playing, they wouldn't go into the buildings. They would stay outside the buildings. But then as the days and weeks went by, and they were being killed thousands, if not millions of times from the Arks, okay, from Ark Raiders, they started adapting. And the NPCs started hiding. Like they would attack and then go off to the side, or they would attack and then come inside. They would flank you. They would do a bunch of different things that they didn't do when the game first came out. So that is a completely new era we've never been in before, where, sure, PvP is cool because it makes every session unpredictable. But what if a PvE game made it where the NPCs you were going against made it unpredictable because they were learning based off of you? There was another game that did this called The Neighbors, I think it was called. And we watched the video on that like a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, where the neighbor, as you're like hiding inside the house, the neighbor would walk around the house and then it would check the closet door. Okay. It was like coded where it would like check behind the couch and then it would go into the closet door. And then if you were hiding in the closet door, it would know you were there. But it was learning. So as people played the game, if someone was hiding in the closet and it knew the closet, it would check the closet first because it knew that percentage-wise that most people hide in the closet first. And then it would try to figure it out. Okay. So that was like the first early starts of what the NPCs are like learning and adapting over time. So unpredictability could actually happen with the NPCs. I've talked about how the NPCs in like Ubisoft games, if you are sniping, you're being silent, you're in a bush and you shoot the bullet, right? All the NPCs in the game are like, oh, he's in the bush. They turn around, they start shooting at the bush. It's like, Well, how does it know, right? Because it's coded that way. It's like, oh, it knows, it's detecting. It's not adapting. It just says, oh, a shot came from there. That's where he is. That's where we're going to shoot, right? So it's very interesting to see the way Halo is, the way Fortnite is, right? The bots are becoming better and better inside the actual game. They're acting more and more like realistic people. The Ark inside of Ark Raiders is adapting and becoming unpredictable based on what it is.
Out the things that are uncomfortable. I can maybe guide people towards a direction, but ultimately they're the ones that are going to have to figure it out, right?
This is CEO Patrick Soderlund, ex-EA executive who understands leadership. He points out problems, shares opinions.
Just to let you know, this is the same guy who couldn't tell his daughter that there was no women inside the war. This is the same guy that in Battlefield 5 said, if you don't like it, don't buy it. So as much as you might like him, he also did the thing where he told you basically go fuck yourself. And I guess he's grown and learned since then from Battlefield 5 to what Ark Raiders is today.
Then steps back, lets the team solve. He asks those dumb but difficult questions that spark real innovation, no top-down mandates. And that's why pivots work. Ownership at every level means faster fixes, and players can feel it. You can't run a 300-person studio with 2 live games and 2 more reportedly in development and think that you can make every decision as the executive. I know. I've seen execs try it. They try to add value by solving the team's problems, and that doesn't scale. And Soderlund, he scales. Then there's the publisher, Nexon. Look, they've had some challenges, and gamers aren't thrilled with some of their choices. But with Embark, maybe they've changed.
Here's the thing, though. They don't like Nexus because they do a lot of microtransactions in their games. Embark seems like the balance, right? Remember, people didn't want to pay full price for an Extraction game. They also didn't want to pay $40 for an Extraction game. They gave us so much shit for Concord being $40. They said that should have been free to play, right? They came out with $40 for this, but because it's fun, because people like it, they're like, okay, I'm okay with the $40. It's worth my time.
Maybe they've learned because they're certainly supporting them.
When the finals weren't, had its problems, they were like, okay, this was expected. Here's what you need to do. Think about it. Like, they were super supportive and just take your time, fix this, be patient. We were the impatient ones, not them. So that is for Embark a blessing. And they're very hands-off. They let us do our thing. They believe in us and incredibly supportive.
This partnership appears to be working. Having run a studio of this size, I can tell you they're living the dream. Keeping these balls in the air, incredibly tough, but they're doing it. Why? Because they built the team and tools from day one with this goal in mind. They wanted custom pipelines to make the boring work vanish, freeing creators to innovate. This, combined with autonomy and no top-down management, means lean teams and massive output.
Albania says the finals should have been their Battlefield killer, but they made it into a stupid joke shooter. I think if they take the technology they did, now obviously it would make the game run a lot more shittier, but if they do the fully destructible environment type of stuff inside of Ark Raiders, I think that would be amazing. If they could do the fully destructible environment like they did in the finals, but in Ark Raiders, because the map is only there for 30 minutes. So blowing up buildings and blowing up walls, that would be a fucking amazing if they did that.
This approach is counter to the bloat you've seen in the industry. And this is why it's so hard watching these big studios struggle. If Ubisoft had had patience with X-Defiant, which they shut down after just a year despite early hype, could they have turned it around? Maybe Sony will take a supportive approach with Bungie's delayed Marathon. They seem to be. And maybe Xbox will quit solving their problems through layoffs. They certainly have the money, and there are still plenty of talented developers in their studios. I've noticed the old guard, the bubbled up club of the games industry, likes to take shots at successful outsiders like Embark. And I find it really perplexing and frankly a little frustrating. This industry has always evolved with technology and
that's another thing, right? She's saying it where it's like this bubble where certain journalists only talk about certain companies, right? Which is weird because they should just be talking about all games and companies because they're there to report on games. But yet they have their favorites. They have their things. And I guess as a person, you can have that. But as a person writing articles about these things, there shouldn't be a bias. Okay? There should just be the facts. There should just be what you are talking about. There should just be about the companies, the games, the developers.
taste. It's a creative dialogue. We should celebrate Larian and Sandfall and Embark. Learn from them. Learn from their wins. Embark's getting it right. They're listening to their players. They're building scalable studios. They have autonomy at every level. They're delivering post-launch. And they have a 10-year plan, not a 2-month plan. No seasons, just content when it's ready. They've shown game developers a roadmap. Let's just hope more will follow.
They're just not ready. They're just not ready. But hey, at least they nominated it for something. I genuinely thought they wouldn't nominate it for anything because they were scared to get backlash. Another rigged year. That's crazy.
It's crazy that game did not get any nominations. Oh, my chat's not working either. I got to figure why this is not working. All right, we'll go back to this. It's crazy that they don't have sound design. I'm so confused about sound design. Five nominees. There's a sixth nominee that could have been nominated, but they didn't nominate it. Very, very strange. Is that bubble? Is the bubble that they're like, no, we've decided we can't talk good about this game. Well, no, what I'm saying, Krabby, is that the Ark don't have to blow up the building. Obviously, the Wasp and the Hornets don't have the firepower to blow it up, right? Either do the rolling balls. But imagine the Leaper jumping on the building and you think you're safe, and all of a sudden it smashes through the building, right? Imagine the Queen or the Rocketeer shoots the building and then it blows up the building. That would be so like, I feel like I'm Donald Trump here. So good, right? So good, right? It would be the best. Like, it would change the dynamic of the game completely. It would change the dynamic of the game completely. Then people would be pissed off because they're like, oh, this is a PvP game, right? Like, even the streamers, the big streamers are like, I don't want to fight the Ark. Imagine they could blow up buildings that you're in with the big guys. The Bastions, right? The Ark or the Rocketeer, the Leaper. That would be amazing. That would be amazing. And again, the maps are there for only 30 minutes. So the complete and utter landscape changes. That would make you sneak around more, make less noise. Okay? You can't hide in a building because if I have a grenade or a Hulk, not a Hulkbuster, a wolf pack, and I throw it at the building and stuff and it blows it up, it changes the complete dynamic. Mr. Z says, remember the same nominators skipped Hogwarts, right? That's right. Can't have nice things. It's so good, tremendous, the hottest, and the best. We're going to make Ark Raiders great again. Yeah. Yeah, exactly, Argus. All right, we got 2 other videos. We got MMO, and then we got a story about Hytale. One is 26 minutes, and one is 18 minutes. Let's go with the 18-minute one, which is the MMOs. Okay, Force Gaming has a video called "More Bad News for MMO Fans." Okay, MMOs dying, chat. Are MMOs dying? I don't know, but let's find out, shall we?
Every year I put together a video taking a look at all of the currently in development MMOs we have to look forward to. In fact, it's become almost a running joke, the number of games that seem to be perpetually on this list year after year, some of which boasting development times of nearly
There's so many MMOs that have got canceled or put on the back burner. So many.
a decade at this point. Well, I got some bad news here. We can all stop laughing at the joke. This list just got a heck of a lot shorter. Over the past few months, 4 in-development MMOs that I've been looking forward to have been canceled. 4 projects. And these weren't just like tiny little barely funded games. No, these were some fairly big deals as far as I'm concerned. Pretty much all of the games on this list were somewhere near the top of the upcoming MMOs that
I think they were almost done.
I am looking forward to playing. Me personally, there's some pretty big names here that just completely got the axe this year. It's almost unbelievable, and I think just really speaks to the current state of things for MMO fans. If you're someone like me who looks forward to checking out new games and having new experiences in this genre, it's really not looking great out there. It simply is not. So most recently, like just a couple of weeks,
it makes you wonder if they canceled the games because they were MMOs. Did they cancel the games because of the money? Did they cancel the games because it was just too much? Or did they cancel the games because the new fad? The new fad, recent fads, because we got to remember, Battle Royales were being made 8 years ago, right? Some of these MMOs have been in and they're like, well, people like to play extraction shooters now. People like to play MMOs, not MMOs, light MMOs. Like a Destiny, right? So they're looking at stuff like that instead of going and finishing out what they've started. I don't know.
Weeks ago, it was revealed that the Warhammer MMO being developed by Jackalyptic Games had been canceled as a result of their partnership with NetEase abruptly.
Argus says the MMO genre is dying because of the traditional payment structure and this time commitment. Just don't fit in with the times anymore, in my personal opinion. This is why I said that MMOs would be really good on a platform like Game Pass, right? A lot of people don't like ESO, but ESO is very, very popular, and you don't pay a monthly fee. You pay for storage, backpack space and stuff to get more backpack space, right? But it's very popular. Fallout 76 is very popular. I know people don't think it is, but Fallout 76 is very popular, and it's not an MMO, but it's a light MMO. Right? And people pay for Fallout first. They pay for stuff like that. There's a lot of games that are MMO-ish, but not full MMOs, where you can come in, do your missions, do your tasks, but you constantly keep going. Okay? I think that's a lot as we talk about Arc Raiders. Okay? Like Arc Raiders feels like a game that people don't want to like reset. They want to like live in that world. Okay? Same conversations we had with Diablo and like Path of Exile. A lot of people don't want to reset their characters. They just kind of want to live in that world. They want to continue doing what they're doing. So I think it's not just the payment stuff, but I think Game Pass, if you throw in all these games onto a service like that, that brings value to the people and they would play it because they're not paying extra for the service. They're just paying this for the service and the game's there.
Coming to an end. Now, we first learned about this game back in 2023, being developed by Jackalyptic, a fresh studio founded by Jack Emmert, who's probably best known as the lead designer on both City of Heroes and City of Villains. This Warhammer MMO was going to be
like DC Universe Online. I don't pay a monthly fee, right? You can go back and play that anytime.
Be this studio's first major project, of which Emmert said, as someone who has molded my career developing expansive MMO stories.
Aku says 30, it's actually interesting because Guild Wars 1 Reforged is coming out tomorrow.
I'm proud to unveil that our first game in development at Jackalyptic Games will focus on the rich universes of Warhammer. Bringing the deep lore of this IP to our game is a massive undertaking, and we are thrilled to work alongside Games Workshop to bring this vision to life. So they'd been working closely with Games Workshop and had a lot of plans for the MMO. Following the initial reveal, Emmert had gone on a bit of a interview tour, sharing some details. He said the team of developers working on the game had loads of MMO experience, some of which included prior members of Daybreak Games who had ended up following.
The Warhammer's canceled, huh? Warhammer MMO.
They intended to stay true to the Warhammer IP, although at the time it hadn't been specified.
That would have been good. That would have been good.
If this was 40K, fantasy, or otherwise, just that it was in the Warhammer umbrella. The game would have action combat as well, as opposed to the old school style of tab targeting. There would be support for user-generated content, something they had done with prior games, including both Never.
I mean, I like Brighter Shores. That's an MMO-esque type of game as well, from the ex-developers that were RuneScape guys.
Winter and Star Trek Online, and it was said to be a PC-centric game. Even though they had been partnering with NetEase, they said that there was, quote, no pressure or suggestion that we should have to do mobile, although now that we know how that's ended, I don't know, maybe they
I mean, I still think that Fortnite's going to make some sort of MMO. I do. I think they're going to make some sort of, like, take your characters that you have and bring into the world and like, live, breathe, and whatever inside that world.
Should have announced they were going to do mobile, so NetEase wouldn't have canceled the thing. Yeah, earlier this month, on Friday, November 7th specifically, Jack Emmert posted, I'm here to share a note that after nearly 3.5 years working with NetEase as a first-party studio, our partnership will be coming to an end, going on to add that their team would be exploring new opportunities, or in other words, everybody's looking for a job.
Lego Fortnite is the prototype. It could be. I mean, it is a survival game. It's a survival game. That's what it is. It's Minecraft. But they did the Lego city thing inside there as well, where you get like jobs inside there to get currency, and then inside the currency you can get stuff inside the actual game. So yeah, I mean, why not? Why not prototype it with that, or with Disney? Disney's coming out with their own type of thing inside of Fortnite as well.
Because Jackalyptic has been canceled or closed down, and this Warhammer MMO, it will never see the light of day. Prior to the Warhammer MMO's cancellation, back in October, Project Ghost, in development by Fantastic Pixel Castle, was also canceled as a result of NetEase pulling their funding. What's probably most interesting about this game is that it had an incredibly open development, with the studio routinely sharing progress reports, developer blogs, screenshots, and even a lot of early gameplay. In fact, not too long ago, they had several content creators get hands-on time with the game. There are videos here on YouTube.
No, I didn't play proximity chat. I didn't even know that was a thing. Eclipse.
Right now by the likes of Co-Carnage and Josh Strife Hayes and others, where you can see like hours of raw gameplay of this thing. It certainly had a ways to go, but there were some interesting ideas here. They would be supporting traditional fantasy roles with tanking, healing, and damage dealers. The game would be divided into multiple zone types. You'd have blue zones and red zones. One of these would be more like a survival crafting experience with some procedural generation, whereas the other would be more akin to a traditional MMORPG open world zones with handcrafted.
Oh, is that what that is, Altern? Fortnite Delulu? That's the proximity chat one?
Locations. Visually, yes, the game was full of placeholders, but concept and design-wise, it definitely showed a lot of promise. Last month, on October 9th, Greg Street, the head of Fantastic Pixel Castle, posted this announcement. I wanted to share the news that Fantastic Pixel Castle's time as a first-party studio within NetEase Games is coming to an end. NetEase Games has been very gracious and supportive of looking for another publisher for our game. However, in the current market environment, very few deals are getting made for any game, let alone something on the scale of an MMORPG. Now, he did go on to say that they would be continuing to search for new publishers and investors with the hopes of keeping the studio alive and reviving the project. This unfortunately did not happen, and as of this week, on November 17th, Fantastic Pixel Castle has shuttered its doors, and unless some miracle happens in the coming weeks and months, Project Ghost will likely forever remain a specter. Also, this past October, we had Amazon announce that they would be scaling.
Lord of the Rings got made and canceled. Then they opened it back up to another Lord of the Rings game, and then that one got canceled.
Back their games division.
Yet, for some strange reason, the original Lord of the Rings online game still here 11 years later, 12 years later.
With the intent to fully exit any and all MMO development. So with this, they revealed plans to halt production for any further future content in New World. The game's servers will be remaining online for the time being, but no new content or updates will be coming, so its shutdown is just a matter of when, not if. What's more, though, is that the new Lord of the Rings MMO that they had in development, that has been canceled again. The attempt at making a new Lord of the Rings MMORPG beyond the existing Lord of of the Rings Online has been seemingly cursed. I guess we'll blame Sauron for this one. I don't know, dude. Now, this actually dates all the way back to the summer of 2019 when Amazon first came out to announce they had entered into an agreement to develop an MMO based on the franchise. During this reveal, they said that they had a lot of industry veterans working on the title, people who had worked on World of Warcraft, EverQuest, Rift, Destiny, and Defiance.
What a waste. What a waste of talent, waste of IP, waste of everyone's time. Like everyone's time. The people making the game, the developers, the publishers, everything. Just a waste of time. How tell me, chat, how do you have one of the world's largest franchises, brands, Lord of the Rings, right? There's only like 5 that you can count on one hand that are so large fan base. Okay, you got Harry Potter, right? You got Harry Potter. You got Lord of the Rings. You've got Marvel. You got Star Wars. And what's that 5th one? What would the 5th one be? Right? Like a huge franchise. I can't even think of a 5th one, right? But those first 4 that I said, maybe Avatar. Avatar's a big brand, but I don't see a lot of people going out and buying a lot of their stuff. Like Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter fans are some of the biggest in the world. We're not talking about gamers. We're talking about hundreds of millions of people, right? DC or Star Trek, I'll take that, right? Right? Are in the world. Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. And yet, for some strange reason, they can't come out with Lord of the Rings stuff. And when they do, they destroy it like Rings of Power.
Wanted to make this engrossing new.
Doctor Who would probably be up there as well. As a well-known brand in the world, yeah, 100%. Doctor Who is very, very popular.
AAA experience set at a time long before the Lord of the Rings trilogy, exploring lands, people, and creatures never before seen. Now, the game's development had been going along. Again, we first heard about it in 2019. Development was going on. And then kind of out of the blue, even though we had reports that development...
Feels Good says that hasn't been a legit MMO since WoW. Let me ask you something. A legit MMO. You know what's not a legit MMO? Games that are not able to play. You can still play Lord of the Rings. You can still play DC Universe Online. So if you think those games aren't relevant, they are still making money. They still succeed a decade afterwards. Everyone thinks Destiny, oh, they made it a decade. DC Universe Online made it. Right? They made that. Still there. Lord of the Rings made it. Like, what are we talking about? Not relevant. Maybe not relevant for you, but there's still people that play it, and if there's not enough people playing it, then why are they still supporting it 11 to 12 years later?
It was going fine. In early 2021, Amazon announced that the Lord of the Rings MMO was canceled. This was because what happened was in late 2020, the company...
You know what you won't be able to play in just, a year's time? New World. That's 5 years old. 4 years old?
That they were co-developing.
Can't you still play the Star Wars MMO? You can, but it's not official. Sony got rid of it, and fans took it over, and you can still play the Star Wars, but it's not official. DC Universe Online and Lord of the Rings Online are still official online MMO games.
The game with, they were partnered with Leiyu Technologies. They had been purchased by Tencent, and then after that purchase, Amazon and Tencent went into contract negotiations, but because they failed to come to any agreement between the two parties, the game got the axe. And then a couple of years later, in 2023, they re-announced plans for a new, different Lord of the Rings MMO. This time, they would be cutting out the middleman and working directly with Middle-earth Enterprises, having...
Amazon not only got rid of their New World MMO, but they also got rid of their new Lord of the Rings MMO.
Full control to make exactly the MMO they wanted, as they would be doing it at their in-house Amazon Game Studios. Clearly that didn't last very long, because here we are a couple of years later, and then this past...
Imagine being a company that can basically have a dominance on just MMOs. They have Lost Ark, they have New World, they have Lord of the Rings, and there was like a 4th one they were making. They could have had 4 MMOs. And no one else is doing MMOs. And Amazon could have banked on that, because they could have taken the MMOs and they could have put it in with Amazon Prime or something along the lines where people were just constantly playing it, where they didn't have to pay a fee, right? You weren't paying for a fee for New World. You were just buying the game and playing the game, and then you could purchase stuff, right? And Amazon's like, nah, it's just not worth it.
October, the game once again has received the axe. At least this time it was their decision, right? I guess I don't freaking know, dude. And then the last game on this list of sacked MMOs that I was looking forward to is Blackbird. And this one, honestly, I think stings the most. So back in July, as part of a massive round of layoffs, you may have heard about Microsoft cutting thousands of jobs, much of which impacted their games division. And in the process, Project Blackbird was canceled. This was a new MMO in development.
This is the one that was made that Microsoft closed down. Sorry, what about the Transformers MMO? That wasn't an MMO. That was a MMO light type of thing. That was like a Destiny. That was a Warframe. So I wouldn't really consider that an MMO. But yeah, there was that Transformers one that got canceled last year.
Element at ZeniMax Online.
Or was that earlier this year? I don't remember.
Studios, creators of the Elder Scrolls Online. Now, first off, I just want to say here, I really like Elder Scrolls Online. It's not a perfect game, but there is a lot about it that I love.
Yeah, everybody gives shit to this game. Yet, here it is. All these years later, still thriving. Right? Everyone gives shit to Fallout 76, but yet here it is, still thriving.
And I
think Fallout 76 just had an update today, tomorrow.
Gotten many hundreds of hours of entertainment out of this game over the years. In fact, I would probably say it's a top 5 MMO for me. It would probably be like World of Warcraft, Guild Wars 2, ESO, Star Wars The Old Republic, and ESO. Like a rough list.
That's the wrong answer, Force Gaming. The best Star Wars MMO is Star Wars Galaxies, bar none.
Plus or minus some games, you know what I mean?
I forgive you.
But it's 100% in the top 10, and I really do feel ESO is like top 5. Like games I've played the most, got the most entertainment out of, have worlds that I've really enjoyed exploring, and content that I've enjoyed engaging with. ESO is up there. It's got flaws, but it's definitely up there for me. If I'm listing them out.
It's a good MMO.
I, at the least, certainly have liked it well enough that I was super interested in seeing on what they were going to be working on next. Project Blackbird had been in production for nearly 7 years, and by all
How I played ESO? Yeah, I played it for like 4 years when it first came out.
Accounts, it was actually sounding like something that I could have loved. A few quotes to sum up the game here.
I bought it originally, Jones, on Mac because it wasn't out on console when it first came out. So I played it on Mac computers. And then I rebought it when it came out for console.
It was a blending of Destiny, Blade Runner, and Horizon Zero Dawn. Players would take up the role of revenants aligned with one of 5 different factions to explore the planet of Soteria, which has one side scorched by this endless sun and another side covered in darkness and ice, with a habitable zone in between known as the Twilight Band, and this whole continent wrapped up in the shooter MMO package. Blackbird was a third-person online looter shooter not too unlike Destiny, set with in a new franchise. It had the sci-fi noir aesthetic, similar to films like Blade Runner, and had placed a lot of emphasis on vertical movement. Now, multiple sources who worked on the project have shared details about the game in the ensuing months. It was said to be a fully open world with a mix of biomes, visually diverse locations.
See, I think Microsoft fucked up here, along their many other fuck-ups that they've done. I think Microsoft should have had this MMO, and they should have put it on Game Pass, and you could play it anywhere. And that was another entry point into Game Pass, right? Where you get Game Pass and you can play this MMO, no fees, and then obviously they would microtransaction you to death with cosmetic skins and whatnot.
Points of interest, and then a major city known as
sort of like Thrones and Liberty.
Exodus. This was supposed to be some actually like massive elaborate zone into and of itself, located smack in the center of the game's world, referred to as a mega city with many vertical layers, hidden secrets, and mysteries within. And then on either side of the city, as you go out from the habitable Twilight Band in the middle, you would head towards those extreme ends. So it maybe be like lush forest and jungles in the middle, and then towards one end, towards that burning sun, it would get more deserty and hotter. Towards the other end, it would get cooler and more
Is he still talking about ESO? Or is he talking about the game that they canceled?
Tundra-like until it eventually became a barren cold area. You'd have a hot area and a cold area, and then warmer and better stuff in the middle with the big mega city right smack in the middle. And that city was like a zone, completely huge, massive, explorable. There would be a big emphasis on traversal. Players could use abilities like double jumping, air dashing, and a grappling hook, and wall climbing to kind of fling yourself around tall buildings like
sort of like Dune Awakening, where you got the grapple hook.
Superheroes, something that I really liked in Dune Awakening.
There you go.
I think is a great example of like traversal systems kind of flying around the environment. So I envision that could have been really cool. For characters and classes, they had planned detailed customizations with sculpting your body, adding scars, tattoos, biomods, and cybernetics. They would have a traditional Holy Trinity MMO system, tanky guns for hire, damage dealers, environmental controlling tech operators, and then healers known as augments. And then for content-wise, they plan to have questing for both solo and 4-player group missions.
I was a little confused, Astrif, because he's showing ESO content. Obviously, because Blackbird didn't have content, but I was confused. I was like, is he talking about ESO or is he talking about Blackbird?
Besides exploring, you would take on basic quests, sending you out into the world to complete objectives and collect rewards. There were more difficult strike missions that would take up to 6 players to complete. They had large public events called firefights where players would dynamically come together to take on these larger threats. There are also plans for a housing system and PvP, although much like the Elder Scrolls Online, Blackbird would primarily focus on co-op gameplay and shared world environments, modifying various weapons and customizing your own apartments, vehicles, and drones.
My problem was a lot of, like, I understand there's certain things that sometimes you just have to cut your losses, and but if you're past a certain point, right? You're past a certain point. I don't think you should cancel a game. Like if you've put in 7 years, like Beyond Good and Evil 2, was it like 15, 16 years? Like you can't cancel that game. You're past the point of canceling that game. You have to come out with something. Right? You have to, when I say make a game, sell a game, you got to put we have a song about it. Okay? You got to put your blood, sweat, and tears into that project. Don't just limp it out the door. Like, put your best foot forward, cut out the stuff that's not finished, make a solid game, and then release that game. If it's good, okay? If it's good, people will pick it up and start playing it, right? Concord, right? But you have to kind of respect Concord, right? They could have canceled it, but they didn't. They put it out. They put it out and said, let's see if it works. They put it out. It didn't work. Okay? But at least they put it out. They made the game and then put the game out. Now, I think it was bad that they were doing the story bits week after week after week to do that. But at least they made a game and put that game out. Not every game is going to be a success. Not every stream is a success. Not every book. Not every movie. But make the thing and then put that out and let the customers decide if they want the game or not.
And they said it would be kind of similar to Bethesda RPGs with some of the dialogue options and stuff, although the team was aiming to try to make it more accessible along the lines of Destiny, while also being dynamic like Warframe and having a mysterious world, something akin to Horizon Zero Dawn. Now, I think what's most interesting about this game, though, is that by all accounts, it was coming along nicely, and the people who played it, including Xbox executives, were pretty impressed, having like nothing but complimentary words for the project. In fact, it was reportedly said that Phil Spencer was enjoying his time trying.
Albania says, remember Mind's Eye? Yeah, but here's the thing, right? Make the game. You have to make the game before you can sell it. If you're not making the game, it doesn't matter what you release if the game is not a game. Right? If you're limping out of the finish line, or over the finish line, it doesn't matter what you have. The idea and the game are two different things. Make the game. Mind's Eye was not a complete game. Lots of other games are not a complete game.
The game so much they had to physically pull the controller away from him to continue their important business meetings, and this was according to 2 people who were in the room at the time. Also, Schreier reported having seen a vertical slice of the game, saying that he was impressed. It was slick looking with alluring visuals and interesting battle sequences. Nevertheless, despite the positive impressions and the game's development seemingly going well, Microsoft officially canceled Project Blackbird this past July. Now, when it comes to all of these canceled projects between means Microsoft canceling Blackbird, Amazon canceling their Lord of the Rings MMO, and then NetEase pulling funding out of the Project Ghost, as well as the Warhammer MMO. It all comes down to money. It's literally like an opportunity cost thing. They say, hey, we can invest however many hundreds of $1 million in this,
but they have to stop making $400 million games. They could have made a vertical slice. They could have made a smaller thing and said, hey, this is what it is right now, and we're supporting it over the time. Look at Elder Scrolls Online. What Elder Scrolls Online is today is not what it was when it first came out. But look how big it is now. One of the largest games out there.
Project, this MMO, and it's going to make some money, but will it make the most money? Like, if I'm going to spend $500 million in Project Blackbird.
Mr. Z says, until Phil says he couldn't stop playing, I think we need to put the statement 6 feet under. Yeah, but sometimes it doesn't matter what he wants, right? Because he's signing checks, but someone's signing the checks that he gets to sign. Do you know what I mean? Like, Nadella is signing the check to give to him, and then he's signing that check to hand it over to somebody else.
Would I be better suited spending that $500 million elsewhere? And that's essentially what these companies decide when they end up canceling projects like this. It's all a matter of opportunity cost. In fact, it is reportedly the case that in canceling Project Blackbird, that then allowed them to greenlight the next Fallout game. That was Microsoft's decision. They're like, you know what, we're going to stop supporting Project Blackbird.
And I think this is a bad decision, right? But here's the decision they decided. Their number one MMO, which is owned by Microsoft, is Elder Scrolls Online. They were making Blackbird. And they're like, well, if we make this game, is this game better than what we have here with ESO? They're like, well, that's a big risk. We're making a shit ton of money with Elder Scrolls Online. You know what we should do? We should cancel Blackbird. We already have an MMO that's on Game Pass. And we also have another one that we have called World of Warcraft that we own now. I don't think we need another MMO, even though I think they should have made one and put it on Game Pass because you have an assortment of MMOs on there. But now they went, let's go with Fallout. Fallout's a big franchise. Look at what Fallout 76 did for us. Let's go back out with Fallout.
And we're just going to greenlight development for the next Fallout game from Bethesda proper. They're connected. There's the ZeniMax Online Studios makes the MMO, but then there's the Umbrella ZeniMax company, and then there's Bethesda underneath that as well. So they're connected, and all of that got purchased by Microsoft at one point, as I'm sure you're familiar. And
yeah, but isn't hindsight 2020, Z, right? It says for everyone else using the statement to say that the game was great. Here it is. It's great until it wasn't. It's bad until it wasn't. Right? So if the game came out and people would be like, oh, it should have been dead. They should have canceled this game. Right? But now that it got canceled, they're like, oh, it was awesome. They should have kept it going. You can never win. You can never win with these people like this.
Yeah, freaking sucks, dude.
If Microsoft came out with it, it would have been the worst MMO ever. But now that it didn't come out, they're like, oh, Microsoft fucked up because it could have been the best. Right? It's like, which one is it? Was it a shitty one because they released it, or is it was it awesome because they didn't release it?
Fan of MMOs. Now, circling back to that Warhammer MMO, during his interviews, Jack Emmert actually discussed what is pretty clearly a market desire for good new games in the genre that isn't being fulfilled. Saying that after World of Warcraft, people tried to copy World of Warcraft, and in doing so, they tried to compete with World of Warcraft, which means investing a lot of money, which then requires a lot of profit. It required a massive success bigger than Warcraft. And when they didn't achieve that, because of course they didn't, World of Warcraft was one of a kind.
And this is why World of Warcraft has stumbled and fallen, because there's no competition for World of Warcraft.
Most of the major publishers just
and this is why World of Warcraft has minimal viable product for the last, I don't know, half a decade.
Gave up on MMOs. To this day, we live in a world where in the West, there are very few new MMOs. He went on to add, so from the perspective of the genre, I would say there is still demand. New World came out and quadrillions of copies were sold, well above 10 million.
Quadrillions? New World came out and quadrillion copies were sold, well above 10 million.
Which is amazing, which tells me that there are people who want to play an MMO, but there's nobody making them. Well, there's certainly nobody making them anymore. I mean, like literally 4 of the ones that I was most looking forward to when
Isn't Ash of Creations another MMO that's supposed to come out?
We talk about IPs, the studios that they're coming from, just conceptually how these games were being put. I was genuinely looking forward to each of these. I love Warhammer as a franchise and an IP.
The amazing part to me is they don't understand, like the industry doesn't understand that people just want to like live in a world. People still play Fallout games because they want to be in that Fallout universe. So then they made Fallout 76 so you can be in that Fallout world with a buddy. Right? People played Skyrim because they want to live in that world. So then they made Elder Scrolls Online and people like living in that world. Right? It's not rocket science. There's a lot of people that just play one game. They don't buy every single game that comes out. They find that one game and they just play that game. It doesn't matter if it's single player, doesn't matter if it's MMO, doesn't matter if it's a light MMO, it doesn't matter. Right? People find that one game and they laugh. These guys have these games on their platforms right now, and yet they just can't figure out. They're like, I don't think we should. If you give us an MMO with Marvel, you took away from us, it would be a success. If you do a Lord of the Rings updated MMO, it would be a success, right? I don't understand why people look Warhammer MMO, like one of the biggest franchises ever. Right? That could have been the fifth one. Warhammer. Okay? To not do a Warhammer MMO? Like, what are we talking about? Like, there's no interest. There's like millions of people that are interested in Warhammer. They're like, I don't know if we make an MMO. I don't think anyone's going to play it.
I'm not the biggest Warhammer nerd, but every Warhammer video game that I played, I've always been like, this is such a cool world and a setting, and it would make for an awesome MMO. Of
course it would.
There have been Warhammer MMOs. There's the Warhammer Age of Reckoning, which we had the history of and has seen a resurgence in recent years. And in fact, there was also a Warhammer Dark Millennium. There was a Warhammer 40K MMO that was almost released, but ended up getting canceled many years ago. And I would have loved to see a new Warhammer MMO. I play something like Space Marine. I play something like Dark Tide.
Same as they brought up Transformers earlier, right? Like how do you not make a Transformers game? How do you not make a Transformers game? Let alone an MMO of a Transformers game.
I play something like Vermintide, and I'm like, dude, with modern graphics, the Warhammer setting would make a kick-ass place for an MMORPG. We had that in development. That got canceled. Of course, Project Ghost coming out of Ghostcrawler, although visually what was showcased, there wasn't much there to kind of draw you in, right?
If Marvel's Avengers looked like Marvel Rivals, I would still be playing Marvel's Avengers.
But conceptually, the things they were talking about, and from those hands-on impressions from the like of Co-Carnage and Josh Dreyfus, it seemed like the game was coming together, and it certainly had a promising future. The Lord of the Rings MMO, I know everyone hates Amazon games, and they hate what happened with New World, and I totally agree. Like, list your grievances, and I would probably say yes to all of them. Nevertheless, they did create some immersive, interesting spaces in New World, and there were things about New
I think they should sell New World. I think they should open it up and let people, if Amazon doesn't want to make money off of it anymore, then let other people take it over.
New World that I enjoyed. Although it didn't all come together in the end for the perfect MMO package, there was certainly a fan base, there were people who loved that game, and there were things about that game that
The funny part, though, Krabby, is that the Transformers 1 movie was actually a really good movie. They just marketed it really shitty. They marketed it so bad. It's actually a really good film.
I loved. So I would have loved to see them take learnings from that and work on the next project, and with the visuals and the immersive nature of New World, like sideboarding that into a Lord of the Rings world and ideally improved upon, that would have been great as well. And Blackbird, dude, literally, it's like my dream to get a third-person shooter that's actually a full-blown open-world MMO. It's something that I want so desperately someone to do properly, and it's not really been fulfilled. There's been glimpses of that. I actually think Dune Awakening is like close to it, but not enough because it's so sandboxy, and the Haga Basin, which is where a bulk of the PvE content is so limited in scope when it comes to the number of players. If we can keep pushing in that direction and get closer and closer to a third-person looter shooter with fantasy RPG classes and skill trees and systems that's also in a big open world, basically what Project Blackbird was, basically how they describe Project Blackbird. That is the dream that I have for a third-person looter shooter MMO. So it friggin' sucks weeks that this shit's getting canceled nonstop. It's really unbelievable. And I will just echo the quotes that I just read from Emirates. There is a clear desire for a Western MMORPG. I love a lot of my games out of the East, you know what I mean? But there's also, with the MMO genre in particular, there's so much bloat and unnecessary system.
There needs to be MMOs. There needs to be extractions. There needs to be RPGs. There needs to be all these type of genres. If we're just gonna keep the safe one, where extraction takes off. Now everyone's getting extraction. You have 20 extractions, or you have 20 MMOs, or you need all of these games, all these different genres. You need them here to keep people from being bored. If you inundate them with the same shit over and over, you're going to start losing people in the gaming sphere, right? I love all these articles are like, oh, single players are dead. Oh, co-ops are dead. Oh, multiplayer's dead. It's like, no, they're not. You just need a nice balance of these games coming out.
And tracking and not even bringing up the monetization and the gacha stuff. I don't know if it's possible. I don't know if we're ever going to see it, but I will say this, there are still plenty of other MMOs I'm looking forward to on the horizon. I will for certain be putting together another list for 2026. It'll come at some point here, but it's also pretty clear, as if it hasn't been already over the past decade, that when it comes to new MMOs in the genre, and specifically new MMOs from Western studios, we're in a really rough spot. It's not looking great. Now, I will add,
we're in a rough spot for MMOs because it takes so long to make an MMO.
I get it. There's a lot of existing games in this genre that are great to play, and I do. Like, I'll revisit most of my favorite MMOs from time to time, a couple times a year. But there's nevertheless a strong desire and wanting for new games in the genre. Like, I don't want to just be revisiting the past all the time, even if it's for updates for those games. I like experiencing evolutions and improvements to things in the world of gaming, and I just wish we had more opportunities as fans of MMOs. I wish we had more opportunities for new evolutions and improvements to the genre, but there's just so few and far between, especially now with 4 of the ones that I was genuinely looking forward to canceled over just the past few months. Dude, this has been 2025 has been a killer year for in-production MMOs. I can't actually believe the headline that four of them canceled in 1 year. Really sucks, dude. Genuinely really does. That's all for today, though. I'd love to hear your thoughts as always below. Let me know what you think about this topic. Any of those games were you really looking forward to? Doesn't matter because we're not getting them. They will.
I wasn't looking forward to any of them. But now that I know they existed, I'd be interested in Blackbird. I'd be interested in the Warhammer one. I would be interested in the Lord of the Rings one. I would probably, out of those, play the Lord of the Rings one, just because of the brand.
Forever live in my head canon of what could have been. But that's all for today. Thanks as always for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you later.
All right. So there's that, and then we have the last one for the day, which is talking about. We're talking about Hytale, or Bellular News is talking about Hytale, and I was interested in Hytale. We talked about this months and months and months ago. Then we talked about it about a week and a half ago, about them canceling it and bringing it back, and now he's done a video about 6 days ago. Okay, and this is about Hytale, how the creators are on a warpath for this game. Okay, so let's watch this one.
Right now, you're seeing something that seemed impossible just a few months ago. It's new gameplay from Hytale, and footage revealed because they are finally breaking the curse of basically the game being unlaunched and there not being footage. And this may seem shocking to you if you've not seen the news yet. And it's a game with a wild story. It generated 61 million views on its announcement trailer in 2018. That showed so much potential that Riot picked it up, and of course it's the very same game that Riot then went on to cancel this summer after nearly 10 years of development. But thanks to diehard fans and former creators who just refused to give up, that is not where the story is ending. You're not just going to see footage, you're actually going to be playing it, and very soon. But to understand why this matters, what's going on, and in what form this game is returning to us, you need to understand how Hytale died. June's cancellation of Hytale.
Now, we're talking about MMOs, about being in development for so long and costing a shit ton of money, and that's why they canceled. They should launch it out, right? This game right here is not an MMO. It can be, because you can do multi-servers and whatnot. But this game was done. Not almost done. This game was done before Riot picked it up. Riot picked it up, decided to change the engine, and then they added a bunch of stuff, and they dropped what they did before to add to it and whatnot. Now, the old guy who sold it to Riot picked it back up, and now is releasing the game in its old state, where basically the last 4 years is null and void. Okay? Null and void.
To everyone. This Minecraft spiritual successor had been in development for nearly a decade when Riot pulled the funding and ended the project. All of that work was going to be lost. It was a heartbreaking conclusion for a project that many people believed in deeply. And I really do mean that. You had people starting entire YouTube channels and content ecosystems around this game, so for it to just die was honestly horrible. But to understand what's happening today, you need to see how the cancellation alone wasn't the thing that made this whole situation dire. You see, it's not like Riot just changed their mind and killed it. In a way, Hypixel had kind of done this to itself. Basically, 4 years before the game was cancelled, leadership greenlit a full engine rewrite.
Why? This is where it comes to upper management. Upper management is the people that they're the glue. They're the glue that keeps the team together. But they're also, the blower that blows everything apart before they can put the glue in, right? They decided that the game was done and everything was good. And they're like, you know what we should do? Everyone else is doing this. We should use a new engine. Why? Make the game. The make the game part is your vision. Your vision was this, so release this, not the new thing. Just complete what you're doing.
Moving from Java and C# to C++ with an external contractor. And the goal with this sort of made sense, at least for a Riot-owned studio. They wanted Riot-quality polish and cross-platform support, but the result of that was years upon years of rebuilding systems that all...
This game could have been out. It could have been out for 4 years now. It was supposed to come out in 2021. The game could have been out for 4 years. Again, it's a lot of... what if type of thing. But the game could have been out for 4 years. They could have made all the money from the people that wanted to give them the money to play this game as they updated it, as they gone through to add more things. But instead, they wasted 4 years. Now they're releasing it in early access for $20 in January. Okay. And it's going to be a building process probably for the next 4 years.
Already worked. From what I've come to understand, the rewrite was extremely controversial internally. We know that staff were leaving in waves, and ultimately costs exploded to over $38 million in losses in just 2023 alone. Now, in the aftermath of all of this falling, we asked a simple question.
They lost $38 million just in 2023, where they could have literally made that money back if they just released the game in 2021.
Can Hytale be saved? Of course, we weren't sure. The costs were high, the technical status was a complete mess, and it would need massive commitments from investors. Plus, it would all hinge on Riot just giving up the IP, letting it go out of their vault. Remember, Riot had invested more than $50 million in operating costs over 5 years, and that's not counting what they paid to acquire the studio. So the chances seemed dire, and that's why, as of last week, the news of Hytale being saved is absolutely incredible. And the good news is that to understand...
I think more companies should do this. I just said it with New World. New World, Amazon doesn't want to support New World anymore. Then Amazon should sell it to someone that sees that they want it. Right? You already have an established fan base there that's willing to keep doing stuff. Right? Another company should come along and go, we'll take over that. Instead of just closing it down.
How it's being saved and the game that you'll actually be able to play soon, well, you needed to know this backstory. You needed to know about the rewrite. So, now that you understand that, let's get into the return of Hytale. I need you to wait a second though, because I need to fill your Christmas stocking. And today's sponsor, Ugreen, have actually got the perfect goddamn tech upgrades sorted to actually do that. First, take a look at these, right? These are their fine tracker tags. And they are properly clever. They're basically better than AirTags in every practical way. The battery lasts 2 years and it's replaceable, which means no e-waste, no built-in obsolescence. It just uses those simple little flat disk batteries that cost basically nothing. And the 80 decibel alarm means they're actually loud enough to really find things. They work perfectly with Apple's Find My network. They're literally cheaper per unit than Apple's offering, and honestly, a lot more functional. Even just little things like, being able to use a lanyard to put it onto something out of the box. Shocking. They are awesome. But for something a little different, if you grabbed, say, the base Mac Mini M4 an absurd price to performance ratio, well, Ugreen's dock completely transforms it, because you can add up to an 8TB NVMe storage card via a 10 gigabit enclosure. You get 3 USB-As, 2 USB-Cs, SD and TF slots, and HDMI. Which all means that base 256 gig suddenly isn't a compromise. And the dock fits the Mac Mini perfectly, keeping everything clean, but massively expanding.
That's what the Mac Mini looks like now? Jesus.
Your connectivity. That's two products that solve real problems and dodge the Apple tax whilst being better. And with Ugreen's up to 40% off sale that's happening right now, these are practical gifts that will actually get daily use. And you can check out the links down in the video description, and I think you should do that before the current sale ends. It all started with a blog post. Hypixel server founder Simon and Philippe repurchased the IP from Riot, who wanted...
Can I just say it's crazy that this guy purchased it back? Again, I think this should happen more when a company wants to close it down, that they should get people that take it and want to do something with it. If you're the company that just wants to eat it, sell it out. Sell it to somebody.
Quote, what's best for players, and they decided that basically meant letting the game go to somebody else for development. It seems a genuinely good faith situation, especially in a world where they could have just hoarded the IP, which so many companies do. And we actually know that Riot had multiple offers for the game, but ultimately they liked Simon's pitch the best. Now, this...
Well, that's good to know that there was multiple offers for the game.
Has been in the works for a while. Simon started talking about stepping in to do something about this mere days after the cancellation. He was basically just responding to fans, asking if he could help, and, well...
Yeah, give me 1 second. I'll be right back. All right, sorry about that.
Now seems that plan is actually in action. And what that materially means is that Hypixel has rehired 30 former developers over the last few weeks, and they've secured 10 years of funding from Simon and Philippe directly. And that is the wild thing. There are no external investors, no publishers, no outside pressure to ship before the game is ready. Basically, those guys have done well for themselves. They have a lot of money, and this is how they've chosen to deploy it. Which is nice, you know? Beats a yacht. Anyway, they announced this stuff even before they set a price on the game, which I think does kind of tell you something about their priorities. Though, in their own words, they just say, quote, we're building something that lasts.
Well, I don't really know if that's true, because the game was, I think, purchased for like $30 million. Right? And they lost $30 million just in 23 alone. So I don't think they made profit off of it. They just wanted to get something for it.
Now, how they're building that, well, that has been the kind of wild part here. So what they've been doing is collecting assets and data that Riot delivered to them, and they've been exploring what they basically have to work with. But what they ultimately found out is that to move forward, they basically had to throw out 4 years of work.
Right, they're going back to the old engine.
4 years that, you know, cost Riot something around $50 million. All right, so the last 4 years of Hytale development were...
They're talking about EA. No one was talking about EA, Sarge. That wasn't on the docket today.
Focusing on the complete engine replacement, and that's work that the former staff described as, quote, going in circles until it dies. Yeah, it must have been a cheery time. Now, the goal was big Riot quality full release with cross-platform support, so all the consoles, PC, and mobile, all working together, but obviously that has been left behind. I suppose you could almost think about the differences between original Java.
If the game is successful at the early, this is what I don't like about a lot of companies. They try to become they try to become this mega corporation. They try to become McDonald's what it is today instead of McDonald's what it was when it started. Right? They don't want to crawl before they walk. They want to run. Right? They want to be across all the platforms and stuff instead of just making the game, selling the game for what it is, and then building it up. They want to be where Minecraft is now, not where Minecraft was when it first started.
Minecraft and Minecraft Bedrock, which is the big multi-plat one. Anyway, this new engine is not a priority. The crossplay is not a priority. This is basically going to be a PC game. So that's why they've decided to, quote, make a great game first rather than a perfect engine. So they're tossing out all of that rewrite stuff and returning to what they had before. Now, for a bit of context here, Simon left whenever Riot acquired the studio in 2020, which does mean that he wasn't around for the years of toil that ultimately killed Hytale. And now he's dug out this old pre-technical reboot version and has a wild enough plan, which put simply is to rebuild the team, to take a lot of feature prototypes that existed back years ago, but were all just kind of like in different development forks, and basically to then merge them all to main. Yeah, if you're a developer, I'm sure you can imagine how lovely their GitHub looks right now. It must be a busy time. Now, it's going to be true early access, right?
You talking about the last Ronin Roadkill? The PlayStation exclusive game with Raphael?
So it will be very rough. I'll get into the details shortly, but what that does mean for you, though, is a lot more simple. The original...
Or it's just called the Ronin, not the last Ronin.
Original vision before it got absolutely grand and crazy, and one that is realized by a bunch of the original people alongside the community that ultimately just wanted to play Hytale, probably weren't that concerned about Riot's grand multi-platform vision. Now, in terms of what we're getting, they are being blunt. It's going to be raw, unfinished, and sometimes broken, but with incredible potential. That basically means placeholder content, unbalanced systems, frustrating bugs, but also little moments of magic and glimpses into what it ultimately could become. And we now know that soon you'll be able to pay upwards of $20 for early access.
Here's the thing. Obviously, they have the game done. The game was done before 2021. But now they're telling you that the stuff that's coming out is going to be broke, buggy, and unfinished with bits of magic in between. But why? If the game was supposed to launch in 2021 and you're giving us that version of the game in 2021, why is it still broke, buggy, and unfinished at that point?
To a Windows-only version of the game, for something that Simon calls unfinished, running on a build from over 4 years ago. So, what will you actually get? What will you be able to play? In the first release, players are going to get exploration mode, creative mode, and modding tools, and that's all with years of early access being planned, with mini-games and the campaign coming later. Content-wise...
Why do I say it was done in 2021? Because it was supposed to launch in 2021. In 2020, before they sold it to Riot, Hypixel, which is the company that made Hytale, was going to launch in 2021, meaning it was done. The reason it got postponed is because Riot picked it up, and then Riot wanted to make with a new engine. So they stopped the release. So everything that was before Riot purchased it was done. Done. And then Riot picked it up, and then they worked on it for the last 4 years to make a different version of the game, which they canceled. So now the guy who sold it to them is getting it back and going back to what the game was before they purchased it, meaning the game is done.
Though it's a simple start, there's going to be 4 zones, as many NPCs and mobs as they can basically get working by launch, and modding that will be rough, but functional.
It was probably going to launch in early access then? So you're telling me, though, Eclipse, that it was going to launch in early access in 2021. Then they worked on all the stuff, and in the last 4 years, now they have nothing to show for it, so now it's going back to early access before it was supposed to launch. So technically they did nothing. And all the stuff that they showed 6 years ago wasn't actually in the game yet.
We're currently not satisfied with the state of modding in Hytale. That is a direct quote from their blog, and I think it gives you a little bit of just color to this story. And repeatedly across all of the communications, they've just been saying that everything will have rough edges. NPCs, tools, systems, all of it. But
Z says they said it was done in 2021, so they sold it in 2020. It was supposed to launch in 2021. The only reason that Riot didn't launch it is because they decided to change the engine.
course, that's also why players are going to be key to the future. They basically need people to play the early access, to make mods, and most importantly, quote, be patient when things break and trust the long-term vision. And this is where I'll say there's something real important that I think, from the player perspective, people should understand. Yes, in an ideal world, you just get the game perfect day one. But for a game like this that's heavily based in creation and heavily
I'm going to say $20 is a little steep for a game that's supposed to be in super early access. Again, I paid $4 for Minecraft back in the day when it was in super early access. Okay, now obviously they're charging more. What are they charging? They're charging 20 and then 25 or 35 and something else.
Based on mods, well, you can have your own sort of features planned out, your own product requirements. But one of the best ways to actually get real product requirements that are like market validated, that you can actually trust, well, that's by having real people play it and listening to what they like, listening to what they want. So that's why, even though I probably wouldn't recommend the average person to buy it on launch, I do think it's very good that...
Yeah, $20, $35, and $70. Early access. Now, I get 100% understand that it's an option. You don't have to buy it. You know before you're going into it, which is great, right? Customers know that this is what it is. They're not trying to pull one over on your eyes and stuff like that. They're telling you that it's early access. If you want to support us, then this is what you can do. Okay, I totally get that. $70 early access? Come on now. Come on. I'm going to give you shit just like I give you for someone that's putting a $50 microtransaction in the store for a skin.
They are doing it this way. Even though obviously in 2025, asking people to pay some money for something that's broken is a hard enough sell, because early access has just become a bit of a shorthand for pay now and maybe get a game later. But that's where I think...
I'm probably going to pick it up for the $20, because I've been waiting 6 years for this game. I like early access. I'll put 30, 40 hours in and probably never play it again afterwards. Right? I mean, I get it. I know what I'm getting into. I'm talking from a standpoint of they're asking for $70 for a broke, buggy, unfinished version of the game.
Things are a little bit different here. We've got that personal funding commitment from two people who, from at least what I've been able to gather, are fairly wealthy, but also, I think, a rapid enough pace of development. Here's a cute example of that. The team revealed that dinosaurs existed in the game. 3 hours later, they had built a mod.
Here's the thing that I think's happening. Every day, like here, real quick, let me go to Twitter. Every day, I've been getting an update. Every day. I've been following these guys for years. Right? I joined April, or they joined April too. I started following them back in like 2019. Okay? They come out every single day with an update. Every single day with an update. They show this. They show this. They're showing this. They're showing pictures. They're showing stuff. It makes me wonder that if they're building up this community by saying you, hey, we're going to add this, and then they add it real fast, right? They add it real fast as the video is talking about. They showed there's dinosaurs, and then shortly after, here, let me back up.
Wealthy, but also, I think, a rapid enough pace of development. Here's a cute example of that. The team revealed that dinosaurs existed in the game. 3 hours later, they had built a mod.
3 hours later, they built a mod and put it in the game.
To allow you to ride the dinosaurs. They'd recorded footage of it, and they had posted it. That's pretty quick, right?
Which makes me think that they didn't just do it. It makes me think that they already did it, but it makes it look like they're doing it on the fly. And this is how much, like, you're building up. This is a marketing machine, right? You're showing us that you bought it back. We're super excited to make this for you. This is why you should pay $20, $35, or $70, because look how fast we can make stuff. Now, just put a pin in this, because if the game comes out and it takes them 3 months to make an update, but yet they can make a mod in 3 seconds and then put it and post it and show you that it's working in the game right away.
That's development velocity. And in a world where you are going directly via early access to your players, on one platform, yeah, you can just push it to main and move way, way faster.
Of course. It makes super sense what they're doing.
So a healthy development environment, I would say. And of course, one enabled by the tool set that they've made. Because remember, before all of this Hytale stuff, they were humongous Minecraft modders and custom server operators. But more than anything, there's a vibe that I want to get across, and that's the earnestness, the demands to be held accountable, the transparency about picking up the pieces and putting them back.
They're, in my head, they're making it look like they're making the stuff right away, right now. The urgency to win the goodwill, but even though this game was done, the game was done back in the past.
Together, I think that may just be the greatest factor for their success here. It's personable, right? I even feel like as an onlooker, I'm also part of the journey. I love that far more than what I can see Riot's perfectly polished version of this game that may have came out in a decade would have been. But obviously, earnestness and good...
Remember, this company was made because they made mods for Minecraft, mind you. They made Minecraft mods, and this is how the studio started.
Vibes does not pay salaries. So, how do you fund 10 years of development with no investors? Because yeah, Simon and Philippe are wealthy boys, but you're going to need more than that. Here's what I think makes the prospect of 10 years with no investors actually extremely optimistic, and it's fairly simple. Hypixel already knows how to build a creator economy. I think this is the most important thing to grasp here. You see, on their Minecraft server, they've ran a support a creator program for years that's paid out $3 million to around a dozen creators through revenue share.
We've given out about $3 million to our creators so far through the test program on Hypixel, involving a dozen creators.
And sales. Now what they're doing is breaking that model to Hytale, where YouTubers and modders will get unique codes, and then sales through those codes will mean revenue share. Now, the way they're going to do this is that they'll take 0% from modders and server operators for the first 2 years, which, I mean, is exactly what you would want, considering early access seems like it will be fairly rough. Also, the existing Hypixel creators can...
Wait a minute. Hytale will take 0% from modders and server owners for at least the first 2 years. We will not have the exclusive clauses by the player or the player.
Considering early access seems like it will be fairly rough. Also, the existing Hypixel creators can just...
Your followers will be able to use your code, so you receive a % of sales of Hytale. The percentage will be as low to begin with, but as it becomes more comfortable to recoup the acquisition cost, we will increase the percentage. If you already have a code for Hypixel, you will also keep your code, but we still need to reapply for Hytale.
Carry their codes over, but they're also being quite explicit in opening the program to smaller voices, not just big mega channels. And this is basically goddamn genius. You see, a lot of people could cover Hytale every now and then, but what you want is your own homegrown talent. Now, there's a problem with that. If Hytale is a rough early access game that doesn't have humongous, consistent, say, YouTube views, then that would mean that smaller voices wouldn't be able to financially support themselves while covering the game. But in doing something like this, and basically making that economically viable, it would mean that people can, yes, play Hytale, but also have an ecosystem of creators making content that allows them to keep up to date with the game and the project. So for something that, like Hytale, is in early access and very much will be a long burn, that's just goddamn smart. Now, of course, for the modding side, this all does matter because Hytale's toolset is just incredible seeming. They've talked about neat things like being able to edit everything live. Stuff like dig speeds, crafting recipes, loot tables. Just being able to change all that and play around with it and test designs without even having to reboot the game, right? Iterating mid-play.
If this game comes out and does what it's supposed to do, this will start eating into the Minecraft thing, because these guys were known for making mods inside of Minecraft, Hypixel. Okay, now they have their own game. This should just write itself, right? Make a game, sell a game. If they do it correctly, this will start not dominating over Minecraft, but starting to chisel away at the Minecraft player base.
Testing changes instantly. That's amazing. And if modders can get paid for it, and same for server operators, that does actually matter. Now, obviously, I know there's Bethesda paid mods, right? And a lot of people will look at that and think, oh dear. Though, I would say that here, I think it does matter. Just like how YouTube ads means that...
Why? Because it's smaller? It's a smaller company, right? If a bigger company is doing it, it's bad, but if a smaller company does it, it's good?
Let's say we can get paid, and therefore can fund, lots of research and video creation to help keep you guys up to date. Well, something like this would eventually allow for actual professional development teams to make content, to make mods for Hytale.
But that's what they were doing for Minecraft. What Hytale's doing, or Hypixel's doing with Hytale, is the same thing that Minecraft Mojang did by opening up to the modding community, and the modders started making a business, which made Hypixel, and Hypixel made mods for Minecraft, and now they made their own business, and now they're opening it up to other modders that could start their own business and start other careers as well.
Which, funnily enough, is just like what Hypixel's server was to the original Minecraft.
Yeah.
Just that, unlike with Minecraft, the modding toolset is deeply part of their development plan, and it has been since the start, because they themselves are modders and developers. It's a tested revenue share model, and it's now one that's being applied to a game that is built from the ground up for user-generated content, and by a team that's done it before. That sounds damn good to me. But at the risk of stating the obvious, calling this a success before the damn thing is even launched into early access would be kind of silly. What we can instead do is think, does this version of Hytale have a better shot than Riot's? I want you to imagine a world where...
Of course it does. One, you have the scrappy little developer that started off as mods, buying back the game and building it back up from the ground up, right? That story alone is better than mega corporation that owns some of the largest franchises in the world puts another game out there. Like, of course this is a better story than Riot game. Riot puts a game out, you're like, it's Riot's game. But this is a small independent guy who bought the company back from the big bad Goliath, okay, to reestablish it, to make it for the fans. This is a fucking Hollywood movie.
Riot just continued funding the project. Now, in contrast, I think Hytale surviving like this actually gives it a better shot than the Riot version, even including the rough edges. Because if it had have released, as planned, the Riot way, probably years from now, then yes, it would have been a polished product, built to Riot standards, with more than a decade of expectations placed on it, and as good as it could have been, I think those expectations would have killed it. And it would have been built on assumptions. You wouldn't have real paying players with skin in the game playing it early, and that would mean that, well, Riot wouldn't really know what true market-tested...
I mean, I truly like this game. I like Minecraft. Minecraft is one of my favorite games of all time. I love what Minecraft does. I love everything about, from building to just playing. It's fun, right? It's educational. Everything about Minecraft to me is a fantastic game. These guys made mods inside of Minecraft, and they're making a better Minecraft in my eyes, right? So I'm truly interested in this game. What I'm a little skeptic of is the whole thing and how it was handled and mishandled, and now coming back to what it is, right? I'm a little kind of skewed by that reason. What's that for? Okay.
Kind of like requirements for the game would be, because they'd just be cooking it internally. So this will be rough, but damn, I think it is almost certainly going to be better than what we would have got. And then there's the thing Riot simply never could have provided, and that is a good underdog story, a good resurrection story.
Yeah, this story, the resurrection story, the underdog story is 100% what's going to make this game sell and get behind. But they can blow it real fast. You
see, it's a perfect way to harness just how foobar this game got. And it actually changes what and how Hytale actually needs to deliver. This take on Hytale is inoculated against certain types of criticism. What do I mean by that? Well, it's pretty simple. It's not had 10 years of development, right? People know it hasn't had 10 years. They know that internally, it's basically just the team gluing a bunch of shit from the past together. And that means that expectations...
All right, hold on a second. Let me rewind what he just said there.
What do I mean by that? Well, it's pretty simple. It's not had 10 years of development, right?
No.
People know it hasn't had 10 years. They know that internally, it's basically just the team gluing a bunch of shit from the past together. And that means that expectations are managed.
Right. We're just flashing Men in Black style, right? Going back, just delete 4 years. You're going back to what they were, what they promised before they bought it, before Riot bought it.
That Hypixel doesn't have to deliver that Riot polish because players are just not expecting Riot polish. And even better, players now get to ride the wave of enthusiasm that comes from resurrecting.
Now the problem is, as I say, it chips away at the Minecraft player base. Does it get where this is just a Minecraft ripoff? Do you know what I mean? Do people just look at this and say this is a Minecraft ripoff? They said it with Boundless, and Boundless didn't look anything like Minecraft. This looks exactly like Minecraft.
Dead game. And that is, I think, the best way to get superfans. Because the people who buy and play in day one will be superfans. They'll be the goddamn vanguard, the people who will make the mods, the people who will tell their friends. And in building them into the game's story, I think they just have an asset that the likes of Riot could simply never have. Realistically, that energy may be exactly what Hytale needed to become what it was always supposed to be. Hell of a story, guys. I hope this one goes well. I want another win, and we all love an underdog comeback story. And speaking of underdog stories, well, Stop Killing Games made it into UK Parliament. It didn't go exactly as many people would have wanted, but actually quite a few good things happened, and you can learn all about it.
So, what was I going to say now? They could win over a lot of people by doing really good with this game, right? The problem is they could like, I want the underdog story. I want this game to do good because when it first came out, and I showed it years and years and years ago, showing when they first made the trailers, literally 6 years ago. I showed how they could do behind the scenes, the video, making the cinematics and stuff inside the game, the mods, the games, all the different stuff. I was like, oh, this looks cool. Okay. I hope it comes out, and I hope they don't burn the bridge. I hope it comes out and they do exactly what they wanted to do originally. I don't agree with the pricing point. $20 is fine, but the $35 and the $70 version for the minimalistic of the stuff of the game. Hopefully it comes out. It's not broke, buggy, and unfinished once it launches. Now, I don't know if it's going to take 2 years to be in beta or early access or whatever it is, but whenever it is all said and done, the game comes out and it's not broken, buggy. It's a small studio, and I think they'll win more people over because it's a small studio than if it was Riot. But these are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. Are you interested in Hytale? Are you interested in a game like Hytale, where it's basically Minecraft, but there's an adventure? It's actually story inside the game, adventures and quests to go on, where you don't have that in Minecraft. It's just an open sandbox world. Let me know in the comment section down below. Let me know in the live chat. Please make sure you share, like, subscribe, and I appreciate you for watching. This is you guys are saying, chat. Krabby says, so, not sure if you talked about this, but some people think that Arc Raiders is tracking your behavior in the game. Like Luke Stevens called it toxicity-based matchmaking. There's been a bunch of... I haven't seen Luke Stevens' video on that, but 100%. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. We talked about it. If you don't shoot anybody, if you engage in PvP, and then it asks you, how do you like the PvP at the end of the match, it's tracking you. It's saying, hey, this person likes it, and this is what they think, whatever. Right? Did you like the PvE? And they track that as well. I do believe there's some sort of thing going on inside of Arc Raiders where if you are passive, it'll put you with more passive people. If you are more hardcore or PvP based, it's going to throw you in more PvP. I think it takes a couple of matches before it figures it out. Because yesterday we were with Mr. Luke and Sweat Dog, and because we shot on people, right? If I shot or didn't shot, I was with a group that was PvP. Now, I did shoot, but if I want to go back into a solo match now, it might go, hey, you're in a group of people that want to PvP because you shot. So we put you in a lobby with PvPers, right? That's easy to do, right? We actually talked about this last week when we were talking about on Monday. We talked about how the streamer wars went on, and there was a outfit that you had to wear to so people wouldn't shoot you, right? And I said there was a time where I was trying to escape or extract, and one of the bungulators came over to me. I walked away. I was in a bush, and I heard talking, and I came back in the room, and he was like, "Oh, you're good. You're not the person I was looking for, whatever," because I was wearing that outfit. So based on it was self-filtering from the actual player base going, "Oh, these people weren't wearing these outfits, so they don't want to play PvP." So they left me alone. They could have shot me in the face, and that would have been it. I think Arc Raiders itself does a system like that, where if you want to shoot, then it's going to put you in that. If you look a certain way, it's going to put you in that, right? 100%, I think it's in the game. Are they going to admit that? No, because if they admit that, then people know about it. And if they know about it, then people can will it to its way, where it's just like this theory that's out there. Just enough says, I just want something like Minecraft with better combat whose UI isn't terrible. Yeah, that's what this game is supposed to be, right? And if you don't like the UI, someone will make a different UI where you can have a better UI. Argus says, I've been watching Burnt Peanut, the leader of Bungulators, for the last 2 weeks. What an entertaining guy. Yeah, he's very good. Very good. And it's funny because you think he comes out of like nowhere. All of a sudden he's super popular, but he was a Tarkov streamer, and he's been streaming for, I want to say like 4 or 5 years, but now he's like blown up, I believe. So, all right. 12 o'clock. We went over 3 videos today. We went over Laura Fryer's video, talking about Concord to Arc Raiders, and about Embark. We watched Force Gaming's video talking about MMOs that got canceled, and then we watched Bellular News talking about Hytale's creators on a warpath. If you guys like what we do this live Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning till noon Eastern. If you like it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. Go to the merch store down below as well, and you can also listen to the music that we made. I wrote it. AI created the actual sounds. And you can support the channel by listening to that or downloading those as well. There won't be an afternoon stream this afternoon. Mr. Luke can't be available. I don't know if Sweat Dog is available. If he is or not, I'm not available. So go check out other people. Go check out Sweat Dog if he's streaming, or if anybody else is up. Go check out their channels as well. Appreciate it very much. We'll be back tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern. I don't know what we'll be playing tonight, but we'll be playing something over on 30 and Still Gaming. Appreciate it very much. You guys have a great rest of your day, evening, or afternoon, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace.
Up there again. Welcome to the world that never ends. Run, escape, open doors in 01. Browse a world where grinding was fun. Halo 2 brought online fight. Xbox Live, friends all night. World of Warcraft ruled the land. Raids and guilds, a global band. Guild Wars said no sub, just buy. Fantasy Star Online reached the sky. These 5, Run, escape, Halo 2, Wild Guild Wars, always online, patching through time. Living worlds we buy and grind. Seasons turn, the loot rolls in. Every reset we log back in. From pixel towns to battle scenes, we're chasing live service dreams. Legends, free to play reign, skins and champs, the money chain. Team Fortress 2 with hats on show. Cosmetic cash flow starts to grow. Destiny promise, 10-year plan. Shared world shooter for every fan. Warframe rising from the dust. Space Ninja grind you learn to trust. Hearthstone cards became a trend. Digital decks with no real end. Always online, patching through time. Living worlds we buy and grind. Events drop, the hype begins. Every update pulls us in. From mobile fights to cosmic scenes. We're chasing live service dreams. Overwatch squads and payload wars. Seasonal skins unlock the doors. Pokemon Go got Launching mons with AR pride. Fortnite drop, the island's hot. Battle Pass gold, the juggernaut. PUBG built the BR craze. Winner, winner, gameplay stays. Apex Legends, squad-based flair. Respawn spin kept players there. Always online, patching through time. Living worlds we buy and grind. Seasons roll, the meta spins. Every batch we dive right in. From payload runs to battle scenes. We're chasing live service dreams. Impact, got to rise. Anime worlds beneath the skies. Call of Duty, Warzone fight. Dropping in each endless night. Final Fantasy second thrives. MMO king, it still survives. Roblox builds with endless play. User worlds lead the way. Marvel Rivals joins the show. Superhero squads are set to go. Always online, patching through time. Living worlds we buy and grind. From raids to drop, from skins to wins. Every era pulls us in. History told in data streams. We're chasing live service dreams.